Hey there. Today I'm going to be reviewing the final game of the Board Game Fight Club Arc Nova Qualifier for October 2025. So, Board Game Fight Club normally follows WSG BG formats for board games, which for Arc Nova is peaceful, generally 3 or 4 player games. This month, however, the number of entries worked out so that the final ended up being 2 player, which ended up being me versus One Sword Mantis. So I'm going to be looking at this from my perspective. All right, so opening hand, what looks interesting with Australia primates and reptiles for base projects. Obviously, the frilled lizard matching 2 projects is great. 2 monkeys is nice for a quick primates 2. And with them both being an America tag, I can get some value out of grabbing an America partner zoo. I am going first, so I have priority to make sure I get it, um, even though um, it would be unlikely my opponent would grab America for no reason. And then Dugong also. In the first project slot, normally I don't like going for the second slot. Um, if it's a continent, but Australia is worth 4 CP rather than 3, and this basically, with a partner zoo, already gets me that 4 tag, so that's pretty efficient there. Quarantine Lab is the only playable sponsor, but also nearly useless in peaceful mode since it's not protecting you from anything. Um, Peafowl doesn't match anything, although it is a decent animal. Um, these guys are just going to get me more value and progress towards projects. Predator breeding could be a decent speculative pick if I didn't already have better things to be doing. And then also Mamba does match reptiles, but no immediate um, plan for how to get the Africa um, tag. So these look like pretty good keeps. All right, so that's what I go with. And being first player, you get, even though, so cards is pretty low, so I'm not going to get an early snap, but I do get first dibs on building to grab something from row, and jungle looks pretty interesting to me, right? The unfortunate thing is then that drops Rhino into range for my opponent to grab up, although that's going to be a long-term threat that I just have to keep track of. So my thought process here is I'm not thinking of going for a round 1 release. That usually is pretty tricky, especially when you have sponsors above association and you don't have any playable sponsors in hand, so it's going to be a bit awkward getting that out of the way. That's usually the challenge of round 1 projects is getting it done quickly and efficiently. Um, well, I guess it could be clever out of the way. So, um, but I think my thought process here is more so I just want to knock out a Primates 2 project because Primates 5 is going to be a pretty difficult project hit. There's less Primates in the deck, so drawing up 5 of them is there's a good likelihood that's not going to happen for my opponent if I block 2 Primates there. And then I can just move on to working towards Australia 4. And Jungle gives me something to do in between that time since dugong is a rather expensive animal, it might take a minute to get that. So, but I do like grabbing the jungle project here. So I go ahead and build towards the card draw spot towards the end of the map. I also want to make sure I stick to the right side so that I have a place to drop a 5 size for the dugong. All right, and then my opponent, One Sword Mantis, goes ahead, builds a 3 size, and picks up the rhino. Um, reasonable play there. So now I can go ahead and grab the partner zoo, um, Americas, so that I can afford the 2 monkeys, right? And before doing all this, you kind of do that math in your head. With the partner zoo, it's 8 plus 9, that's 17. Two sizes will cost you 8. That's exactly 25, which is just enough, even without covering that 5 money. But knowing that I want to play the dugong sooner rather than later, I might as well cover that 5 money, because I will need it. Opponent goes ahead and draws from deck there. I build another 2 size because I want to get 2 animals played. Still running into this problem where sponsors is in the way and you can't play 2 animals until you get animals to 5. However, given that I have a bunch of cards that I am going to want to hold on to, I don't have hand size, right? I already have these 3 lined up that I'm going to want to play. This monkey's even going to draw me one when I play it. Xing back cards is fine here. I don't think I'm going to draw anything that's going to be better than what I'm holding in my hand. And so this is a little suspicious, right? My opponent getting their association up to 4 and then not using it, rather playing a sponsor first. They play Adventure Playground. So this has me thinking like maybe they have a round 1 project, right? Because with a break at 2 out of 9 and your opponent having sponsors at 5 and then cards as an X action means that they could break in 2 moves, right? So delaying your association action is not normally something you want to do unless you've got a project lined up, right? So I'm thinking they're hoping that they see me play a sponsor with my sponsor's action so that they can go ahead and do their project. So the delay has me thinking, either they've got a release that they could do right away, but the fact that they did a sponsor's action first instead of playing that animal right away has me thinking maybe it could be a geological project, right? With the rock icon from the Adventure Playground, and then there's a rock animal going in that 3 size potentially. I, however, expect cards, so that is generally a signal. If you're not using your sponsor's action, um, generally that means you don't have a sponsor. But you also don't necessarily want to break, which is the case for me here is I want to play these 2 animals before I break. So that's my plan. I want to play these and then get out of the round. Now they go ahead and take their association action, grab hand size, which is reasonable. They've got a lot of cards in hand and only 1 enclosure, so we're only going to see 1 animal come out. We know they have a rhino. When you have those late game cards, hand size is good to hold on to. Also, generally a good pickup on maps like Ice Cream Parlors, where pouching is a reward, right? Even if you have a bunch of dead cards that you're not going to play, it'll be nice to be able to hold on to them for a bit later so that you have some pouching fodder when the time comes for when it's convenient to pick up that pouching reward. So I go ahead and spend my X token to get these monkeys down. Yeah, clever down build, just because with the jungle project coming up, that's going to give me a 2 size for the lizard. And then it's probably going to be a minute before I play the dugong, so no imminent need to be building at the moment. Then I go ahead and push the break. And then they break with a cougar, right? Yeah, so with the jumping 3, that would have made it very easy for me to break if he had played animals and tried to do his project. And then I guess with the Tamarin to go along with it, um, that's another reason where you're able to delay your association. It's not all the way back up to 5 for him at the start of the round, but it's pretty close. Right, if you didn't have a clever, starting the next round with association strength at 3 is not exactly where you want to be. But I go ahead and start with the primates project here. And this is where I do something a little bit unconventional, right? So I'm starting to think myself, how am I going to get to the point of affording this dugong? So what I do is I take a worker from 2 conservation points, and then I also take a worker from Project Ward, giving me 2 workers so that I can support the monkey release in this turn as well. Right. Um, so I think my thought process here is like, well, I want another worker because I want to grab Australia Partner Zoo to get me that animals upgrade to play Dugong, also to get a discount um, to before I play either of these animals. So I want to take a worker. Um, but also there is a Partner Zoo reward on 5 conservation points. And releasing a small monkey gets me 3 conservation. So I could just skip that part of spending an action to manually take a partner zoo and just do a project instead. And I'll still get one of these snapping or 2 size rewards and in this round. And I'm feeling good about my ability to be able to um, cycle my association action back up because I'm going to be planning to build a 5 size next. Um, and there's an X token and a clever over here. Normally, I don't like covering clevers early on in the game. Uh, using that to adjust your action order is usually more valuable later in the game. But there's no way to place a 5 size in this immediate area um, without also covering the clever. Maybe if I took 2 size first, then it could happen. But um, I just wanted to try something a little bit different. Also, uh, you know, it doesn't also doesn't feel great to pass on the snapping because that gives my opponent an opportunity to snap a golden eagle there. All right, so they go ahead and spend an X, and there's the project that I anticipated they likely had. And they go ahead and snap an eagle, right? So spending an X there is reasonable, right? With cards at 5, they probably thought, I might be using my next card's action to go ahead and snap that eagle. All right, so I X down cards, right? With me having 3 workers, I really want to cycle my association action pretty quickly. Um, with my opponent having not taken a worker, they're going to want to cause the break pretty quickly. So um, I expect cards. The lizard's going to draw me a card anyways. Um, and without hand size, I can't hold on to a whole lot of cards. So, right there, uh, my opponent goes ahead and pushes the break. I spend an X to build that 5 size where I told you about, getting an X token back, and also a clever, which puts my association in range. Clever box sponsors because I don't have a sponsor to play. Um, and knowing that I'm going to be upgrading animals when I take this partner zoo, it'll be nice to just get that extra rep um, playing animals at 5 here. Opponent goes ahead and takes an upgraded build action, right? So upgrade build can be nice on ice cream parlors. It helps you jump across the map a little bit quicker to complete the kiosk bonus. And then plays Geologist, which is also a great sponsor on this map, right? With rocks spread out all across the 3/4 of the map. There's a lot of spaces that give you rebates for Geologists. So that is going to fuel a lot of money, which he is going to need, given that we know he has a Rhino and Golden Eagle. Um, so this is a great map for it. Tons of money from geologists, lots of money from these kiosks. He's going to want to cause a lot of breaks to play those expensive animals. Meanwhile, I'm trying to play it slow with a lot of workers. Go ahead and do my monkey release. Doesn't matter which monkey, they're both worth the same. go ahead and grab free partner zoo, animals upgrade. Um, I do like to grab two size on this map. Nothing super exciting as far as snapping goes. And two size does let me cover a draw from range. So, Sea Turtle Tank was one of the things I was kind of eyeing. That gives potential progress towards reptiles and will be a way to afford Dugong next round, right? If I can draw a couple more cards and then sunbathe some stuff. Right, so opponent can't quite break yet because I never took a cards action. I'm forcing them to push the break on their own. That four size I built, I anticipate that's probably for the Rhino they have, which they're pretty far away from reporting. So, Animals action is a good candidate for Xing back early, um, just because you generally don't have enough money to make full use of it all the time. So let's see, Frilled Lizard draws me Baboon Rock. Fortunately, I already played my primates, right? And opponent's X-Backs action gives them the X to cause the break entirely by themselves. Um, I think they could have. They didn't really need to rush it, right? Because I don't have hand size, so this card's action is not going to do me a whole lot of good. I mean, it could find me some better cards. I'm not particularly attached to the Baboon Rock right now. I don't have enough money to build, right? So I don't think there's a real rush to break. They could draw cards. They do have hand size, and that would be a useful move for them, and they'd save an X token. And with snapping, they grab up Savannah. That is great in combination with the Cougar. That's a really nice release there. It is a risk, though, in case I find a large predator. And so here I go ahead and uh, do some math um, with what to do with this placement, right? Um, I realize that with the marketing spot here, um, I was already reserving this spot for Sea Turtle Tank. So this was the only spot I could have placed the two size without covering marketing, but then I wouldn't be able to place the kiosk. So I figured I'll just go ahead and place the Baboon Rock. If I place the two size here, that lets me place the Baboon Rock to the right, um, cover the kiosk there, which then chains in to cover that kiosk, completing the map bonus before I take income. And so I think placing these kiosks, right, that gives me extra one income, two income, and then three for the map bonus, right, increasing my income by five. I paid six for the Baboon Rock. So it's probably worth it, but I am getting a little bit worried at this point that my map is getting a little bit crowded. Um, but it's not totally cooked yet, I think. If I put the Sea Turtle tank here, it does lock me out of another large water tag animal, but I've still got a four size over here and five size over here, and that should be good. And I'll have a couple of opportunities for small enclosures as well. One, two, three, two sizes. Right, and then I also was doing the math on the how much money I need for the dugong, realizing that when I play the sea turtle tank, after paying effectively one for placing down the baboon rock, I still need to find at least one card to sell with the sea turtle tank, and also realizing that I'm probably going to want to manually play the sea turtle tank with sponsors being in front of the association action. Um, yeah, research science museum is interesting, but I am not. Um, I don't have a head start on science tags yet. Vet and science lab would be interesting, but I don't have an easy way to grab all of those myself. So my opponent does put out their Savannah project and grabs a worker. So now they have some incentive to slow down as well. Um, I just X-Back build, right? I have the enclosures I need to do in the near term, so um, no need to build here, and also I need to save that money for the dugong. So opponent snaps up Science Lab, so that makes sense for them grabbing a worker, right? They're interested in playing that Science Lab, and that'll be an easy way for them to draw up a veterinarian, which will be a nice combo with that to start accumulating science tags. Um, and since my opponent went ahead and grabbed that science lab, they're likely going to drop this veterinarian before I can. Um, I don't see a reason to hold on to the science museum here. I do hold on to the research. Um, Maybe that could have been sold knowing my opponent's going to start accumulating science tags here. But I like to have a project in hand just in case I really need one in a pinch. So I do go ahead and play Dugong first before I can do that Australia 4 project, which will win me the race to 8 conservation points after I do the project. I dig away Vulture because I know my opponent has the Golden Eagle, and this is likely a spot that they left for an aviary, and so I don't want them to get aviary value. Dig away the cassowary. Just don't want them to have an easy way to get Australia 2. And then dig away the elephant, right? I don't have room for it. I don't want to give them another potential big score. Blue Mountain Park is something you love to see, right? That'll be really nice for the dugong after I do the Australia project, and my opponent does not have a way to deny it from me, right? With build and animals being at their top action, unless they happen to have a snapping, which I don't think they do. So opponent just goes ahead and builds, gets a couple more small enclosures, a lot of rebates from Geologist. And then this is another reason sometimes why I like taking two size first instead of snapping. If there's nothing super interesting on display, it can be nice to have the option as a snapping when something shows up. Right, and so the sequencing kind of just works out nicely that I can do a lot of digging with the dugong right before doing the project so I can snap up anything nice that shows up. I don't think I had looked at my end games until this point, but Conservation Zoo is pretty nice to have, right? I think what are we? 2 breaks in, and I've already got 3 projects. So Savannah is a likely good leech. Blue Mountain Park is another one, so definitely got stuff on the horizon that I can do. All right, Sun Bear, I don't, not too happy about seeing that come up, right? With having taken a worker at 2 conservation points, um, I'm limited to 3 upgrades, and my last upgrade will come if I get 2 universities, so I'm a bit far away from getting a third upgrade, and an association upgrade is what I would need to um, get the Asia Partners Zoo to be able to play Sunbear. So that's quite a lot of work to make that playable, so the Sunbear is not great for me. But my opponent hasn't grabbed any Partners Zoos yet, so it could be a good play for them. So I think at this point, right, with my opponent sitting on 36 money, um, I want to. My thought process here is to just cause the break before they play some animals to deny them some income, right? Because knowing they have both a rhino and an eagle, they do need a lot of money. And I figure I can snap up the sun bear because nothing else looks interesting on display. Until migration recording shows up, right? So that is really nice with Blue Mountain National Park. And also, I don't want to give them more options for projects with their savanna, so migration recording looks a bit juicier here. And yeah, there's nothing interesting in range for me, right? If my rep was a little bit higher, I would cover this and try to draw the sun bear, but I can't. Um, Opponent actually grabs the dusky monkey. Clevers are useful, um, but okay, so let's see. Opponent plays their rhino. So no apparent easy project just yet looking for them. I think habitat diversity or species diversity is probably likely. Right, with 2 bears on display here, species diversity will probably be pretty easy. And then he combos the dusky monkey with it. Makes a little bit of progress towards primates, but he's still pretty far away. But the clever is nice to help cycle association back up. And with myself sitting on 3 workers, I do like the sloth bear here to be able to uh, cycle through 2 association axons very quickly. And then build a 3 size for it. Do get a quaddy, which is not bad. It doesn't help towards it. Well, actually, that gives me something to release with Savannah, so that's pretty nice. Opponent finally plays their science lab and uses that to draw up the sun bear. So they had higher rep than me, so that was an easier option for them to draw up. I think at this point I did try playing the migration recording, but realized I didn't have a science tag, so I do end up grabbing a university here, which I didn't really want to waste time doing, but I was seeing a lot of value with migration recording here, right? Quaddy from Savannah, dugong, frilled lizard. Um, it's just a lot of opportunities there. So I do go ahead and lay down that migration recording. Opponent goes and grabs second partner zoo, so Asia, to be able to play their sun bear. It's not too exciting when you spend 3 workers to grab 2 partner zoos, but they are sitting on 4 upgrades and 2 determination animals that we know of that will help them regain some tempo. So now that I've laid down the migration recording, I can start knocking out these releases. I started with the dugong. Right. Yeah, no reason not to, I think. Don't want to end up in a situation where opponent uh, surprisingly plays a large Australian animal and then steals the large release from you. Um, but yeah, I do the release first because then I can play the Sloth Bear to shoot my association right back up to 5 so that I can do another one. And opponent causes the break before I can do that. They draw from deck and snap up Fennec Fox. That is what I would have snapped, right? Because I only have one card in hand, so that makes my moves pretty predictable. Um, with one card in hand, I obviously don't have two animals. And Fox is a nice one to, that clever is especially nice when you're sitting on so many workers. And with migration recording almost giving me unlimited projects, it's really nice to be able to cycle that association very fast and just go project, project, project. But Shoe Bill shows up. That's not a bad pickup. It is playable because I have two science tags. I do release the Frilled Lizard first. I think at this point, I don't want them to leech off it with the Taipan. So just kind of a denial choice, even though maybe the Quadi, you can argue for that too, because now they have the opportunity to knock that project off so that I can't do that release later. Right, and I go ahead and snap up the bush elephant. This 5 size is a nice candidate for that, for a good chunk of points. Right, so I don't have any end games from my played sponsors, but Conservation Zoo is looking like it's going to be maxed out. Bush elephant will be another good chunk of end games. Whereas my opponent, looks like geologist was already met. Science lab, they've got one, and then vet um, could easily be met with grabbing a university. Right, and then out comes the golden eagle along with the fox. So fox is able to get the cards out of the way so that they can go straight into a association action, which they use. Right, spend 2x's to do 7 strength. Australia to plus European Partner Zoo. European Partner Zoo has me a little bit worried in that that now makes the adder playable for them, which would give them a third determination action, which they do grab up when they take 2 size reward and um, draw from range. So opponent getting a lot of extra actions in here. So at this point, right, breaks it 2 out of 9. I don't really have any reason to build, right? I could fit a 3 size here, but I don't have a 3 size I'm anticipating to play. So build is just kind of in the way here. I could play elephant, or I could break, or I could do a project. I actually elect to grab a university. I think let's see, what's my thought process here? Thought process is I can upgrade cards. That lets me also draw a card, which helps me to stockpile cards before I do a project for a pouching reward. Brown Bear is an interesting pickup. Opponent does another build action here for a bunch more small enclosures, including a 1 size that they can fit their adder into. So I've still got plenty of money and 2 workers to do another project, so I go ahead and just play Expert on Asia. It's an okay play, 3 points. Denies it from them, which would also be 3 points plus more. Um, knowing that they at least have Sun Bear coming. So then they go and play Adder plus Monitor into Break, right? They're out of money. I've got plenty of money. Um, let's see. They go ahead and snap away Tapir. Makes sense. It's one of the higher scoring animals that you can fit in a 2 size, and I have plenty of 2 sizes and also plenty of money to be able to play it. Downside of Tapir is it is expensive, but if you have unlimited money, it is a good way to score points quickly. Nothing super interesting for me. I can't play Zoo School without upgraded build. I think I just want to deny Tech Institute, right? If my opponent were to grab the last university plus Tech Institute, not that I think they have time to play it, but it synergizes with Vet and Science Lab, and that university gives them a lot of endgame scoring. So I go ahead and just cover up that reputation while I can. And then I think this is the part where I probably made a mistake. I would say it is greedy here to play the brown bear instead of the elephant. Um, in an ideal world, I play the brown bear and then I'm able to uh, release it and then play the elephant. And I think that would seal the game for me. Um, the ×2 on a Soch is nice. The full-throated doesn't matter because I already have all my workers. Um, but if they do push off the savannah, I think I was thinking, the project I know they have in hand is, you know, either species or habitat diversity, which I can leech off of, which would be a good 9 point chunk, and then I've got aquatic here as an option or research potentially. I could also potentially do grab a university and then research, and then that denies the university from them for their vet and science lab and game scoring. Um, and then if we get into a sort of endgame chicken, I've got Tech Institute for a delaying move, which is okay when you have another uni. But then he throws down the large animals, which is useless for me, so that's not great. And then I'm a bit in this awkward spot where, yes, I've got ×2 on a Soch, but I don't have um, enough X's to do 2 projects. I don't have any playable animals in hand, so right, if I were to just grab a university and then do research, I've got nothing to follow that up with. So I might as well get one of these actions out of the way so that I can do 2 projects with this double Soch action. And if he doesn't end, maybe I draw something that'll be playable. So I do draw the aquatic. It is a project that they can't leech off of, although they're probably just going to do that diversity project and be done with it. So maybe I didn't need to draw the aquatic. Elephant is not playable since I don't have a release for the brown bear. But the Tamarin and Anaconda were very nice pickups, right? So if I have 2 moves, the Tamarin uh, with the Baboon Rock, that's 7, plus 2 is 9. And then if I could spend all my X's to get another reputation, right? Tamarin plus animals at 5 gets me another. So that would be 12 points, plus 6 from the Anaconda. would be 18. That would get me all the way up to 97. I would spend all my X tokens, but the Anaconda would also give me a clever to get build out of the way so that I can do, end with 2 projects after hitting 97. That is if I get 2 moves. Which, when your opponent's sitting at 73, it's not all that often that you can score 27 in 1 move, but, they do have a Sun Bear. Plus the Tapir, which is another 7-point chunk, so that's 12 points in animals. On top of a 15-point project, and that'll end it in 1 move there. So then I can just go ahead and do 2 projects, do that Species Leech for 9 points, do a Pouching for another 4, and then end with 1 more 6-point project and 2 money that I'm not going to get to use. So I do get to 98. Playing an extra turn to play these 2 animals for another 18 points would have been nice. Did max out Conservation Zoo, did all 7 projects, right? But fall 2 points short, right? They fortunately didn't have a great end game in Sponsored Zoo, but they did have, one from Science Lab, one from Geologist, so that was enough for them to knock it out. So, yeah, I think it was a mistake there to play Brown Bear instead of Elephant. Right, the Elephant would have given 2 more points itself on play. I would have lost out on a second project, but that was only 6 points, and I think there's a good probability of drawing a 2 conservation point endgame with the Elephant. So, yeah, it's probably just a bit greedy to go for the Brown Bear there instead. So then got results. Oops. Let's see, how fast was that game? Yeah, so 29 turns, I think that's pretty typical for a 2-player game. So well played by my opponent there. And it was interesting to go for 2 workers with my first project board. Almost 700 games played. I think I've only done that once or twice before, and I think that worked out okay. But I don't recommend trying that very often. But there you have it. BGFC finals. Congrats to One Sword Mantis, and good luck in the semis.